I'm Diane Hall with AARP Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you back to Movement for Life, part of AARP Missouri's Moving It Fitness series. This class is suitable for all levels of fitness, and we're now on our third week of a 6-week Movement for Life series. Now, Movement for Life will be followed, as Tyler has mentioned several times, by a 6-week Yoga for All class, and that will start on March the 10th. Excuse me. AARP Missouri offers classes called Forever Fit and Zumba Light. All of our programming is created for people 50 plus and having them in mind, but it's good for anyone of any age, and now that we're online, anywhere. So to learn more about these opportunities, please go to aarp.org/movingit. You'll also find information about our new sweepstakes for a Fitbit Versa 3 and other prizes. And I hope you guys have all entered the contest by now. AARP realizes that our fitness series is like Movement for Life can be great options for anyone who may not be able to attend a traditional fitness class, like caregivers, and for those who are staying home to reduce their risks of the pandemic, or maybe some of you who are staying home because of the weather today. AARP has resources for caregivers, up-to-date COVID-19 information and technology information on our website, aarp.org/nearyou. Now, as always, let's make sure that you are set on Zoom. Right now, you should make sure that you have pinned our instructor, Tyler Ferguson, and that way Tyler will stay on screen throughout the class and you can follow the moves better. You can pin Tyler by going to her video. She is highlighting where her video is there, her little Hollywood square. And you click on if you hover your mouse, you'll see mute and you'll see 3 dots. You can click on the 3 dots and the drop-down menu will give you the option to pin Tyler. If you pin her, she will stay on your screen so you can see her. One more thing that would really help us out, if you would please make sure and put yourself on mute, which most of you I think have already done. Until we get to the Q&A part, you can always ask a question in the chat, and at the end you can unmute and you can ask in person. So now let's get started with Movement for Life. Our instructor will be Tyler Ferguson from Caliente Fitness. Tyler, take it away.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning. Hello, everyone. I hope you get to look out the window and see the beautiful snow that I get to look out and see, and you're enjoying that. Let's get started here. Hopefully you're warmer than it is outside. For those of you that wish to do this work seated, we can do that, or you can take a seat. Otherwise, come to standing and bring your feet about hips distance apart. Soften the knees, soft bend in the knees. And we'll begin to just ground a little bit and prepare ourselves for this work. So allow your shoulders to move forward and back in space. And notice how the weight shifts in your feet as you move forward and back. As the shoulders drift forward, you have more weight in the toes. As the shoulders move back, you have more weight in the heels. And then maybe pause for a moment and come to standing and see if you can notice how you hang out in your body. If you hang out in a more forward, shoulder forward position or a more shoulder back. And then try to draw your shoulders over the arches of your feet so you have equal weight in the big toe mound, in the piggy toe mound, that's right where the toe inserts into the foot, like the ball of the foot, in the piggy side, and then in the heel. Soft bend of the knees and grow long in the spine. So as you feel the mounds of the feet pressing down in the ground, feel that groundedness as you lengthen up in the spine. So you want to have energy moving 2 directions in the body. Good. Then just come to standing and allow yourself to take a breath here. Inhale, feel the rib cage, the torso fill up. Exhale, can you keep the width of the rib cage and just inhale the tissues back into contraction. Again, inhale, feel the rib cage expand. Keep that expansion of the rib cage and exhale, just feel the tissues contract. One more time, big inhale. And then exhale, we'll begin our work. So our goal for today is for you to finish class feeling 1/8 of an inch taller than when you left class. So that's what we're going to strive for today. All right. So lift all 10 toes. You can use your hands. This can help you lift the toes, separate them, place them down on the mat, stay standing. I just want to show how those of you at home can be do this work seated as well. Lift all 10 toes, separate them, and place them down. Now lift all 10 toes, tap the big toe down, lift the big toe up, tap the piggy toe down. Lift the piggy toe up, tap big toe down, lift and piggy toe. And then work back and forth. Big toe and piggy toe, big toe and piggy toe. And you might begin to feel the muscles of the feet or the muscles of the lower legs begin to wake up as you are articulating between these two movements. Now roll into the big toe, roll out to the piggy toe. Roll in and roll out to the degree that's comfortable for you. So you might feel some stretches and some lengthening in the ankles. So some new movements for you. Rolling in one more time, maybe some pops and cracks, and then rolling out. Come to your neutral again. Lift all 10 toes, separate them, spread them wide. Place the toe pads down on the ground. Think that you're like a big tree frog, suctioning up to the tree, and then draw the toes back and feel the arches of the feet lift. And then feel the glutes turn on as you move your hips into that external rotation that we talked about. Sometimes it's like tearing the ground or drawing the ground together with the heels and tearing the ground apart with your toes. From here, I want you to inhale the arms up to the side and then exhale the arms down. Now, if you have a shoulder injury that doesn't allow your arms to go above your head, stay right here with me. Just inhale the arms up to the side. Now exhale down. So as we move with the breath, this is a little bit more like a yoga beginning, right? Observing and moving. Speaking of observation, last week somebody typed in the chat, or last week we talked about, hey, I noticed that I lock out my knees and I'm struggling with that. And I was trying to give you ways. Now, go overhead if it doesn't hurt your shoulders. Otherwise, just stay right at the shoulders. Inhale up and exhale down. And I was trying to help that person understand ways to maybe not lock out in the knees so much. But you know, on the way home, I was thinking about that question. And the whole thing that we're really trying to do together here, let's just pause from that work, is we're trying to observe and we're trying to learn things about ourselves. So whoever brought up that question about locking out the knees last week, you learned that you have a tendency to lock out the knees. That's your 90% there is understanding that you do that. Now we'll take time to work to correct that. So this mindful work is an opportunity to observe our own patterns. Okay, so let's begin with our neck glides, drawing the chin down and forward and then back up in the back. So you guys have done this. This is week number 3 now. So hopefully this feels a little bit more natural and a little bit more fluid to you. If this is newer for you, take a look at the screen. I don't want you to chicken pack forward and compress your neck. I want the neck to go down, glide in front, or the chin to go down in front. And then when the chin comes back to this back position, you should feel long in the spine. Come to center. Let's glide side to side now. And then for those of you that are still having a hard time finding those neck glides, I'm looking at the screen and you're looking great. The people that I can see, you're looking really good. Just be mindful if you're tilting. That's not what we're doing right now. We're not tilting. Or be mindful if you're rotating. We're not rotating. We're gliding. So one thing you can do is split the difference and go 45 degrees to the side and forward. That might help you find it. Let's go into our circles now. Draw the head back or draw the chin back. Come over to the side. Come forward. Other side and back. Trying really hard to leave your shoulders out and just move in the neck. Hit these 4 staccato places and then begin to glide it out. So a common misalignment or a common adaptation in the body, if we sit at our screen a lot, let's come to the back position and take our movement in the other direction. I'm going to move counterclockwise now. Is keep moving in your circles. As we sit at the screen, we chart to get the chin moving forward and the ears coming out of alignment. So this chin in and back position, keep doing your circles, is a nice pattern to start to create in the body. So as we move forward, we lose the pattern and then we come back and find it. We lose the pattern and we come back and find it. All right, we'll pause right here. Take the arms down like you're driving swords down into the ground. That'll help your shoulders come down into pack. Soft bend in the knees. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder. and then pull up with the left cheek so that you create more length. That's what we want. We want this upward energy, creating length in the spine, the cervical spine. Drop your chin, bend your knees, left ear, left shoulder, pull up with the right side. Or if you're going the other way, if you're not left, right, that's okay. Chin down, switch. Pull up and away, opposite side. And then bend the knees, chin down, switch. Pull up on the opposite side. And then chin down, switch. Now listen here, it's going to change. Right ear to right shoulder, left side pull, or this side, right, left, sorry. Opposite side pulls up and away. Now I want you to rotate. So you have the side bend, ears to the shoulder. Rotate your gaze up to the ceiling. And then the alignment with the chin and the nose come to the opposite shoulder. Take the gaze back down, more toward your screen. Chin down, switch. Opposite side. So get the activation and the length first, then start your rotation. So we're moving our cervical spine into lateral flexion with rotation. Bring your gaze back to center. Let's do that again. Chin down, bend the knees. Start on your original side, ear towards the shoulder, opposite side pulls up away, and then begin to move through your rotation, staying out of pain, but challenging our end range, bringing the gaze back to center. Chin down, switch, bend the knees, opposite ear, pull up and away, and then begin to find our rotation. We're going to add on to that in 2 weeks. There's more to come. Chin down and come to your center. Let's talk about tearing the ground apart for a second. So I want you to find that activation where you're tearing the ground apart. Bring your thumbs to your ribs and your pinkies to the tops of your hips. And your elbows are out, like you're flaring out. So think about our goal of getting big, long, but also bigger in space. Start to tear the ground apart with your feet, soft bend to the knees, and then send the hips back behind the heels as you hinge forward. Your gaze is going to go down to the floor, so you might not look at the screen any longer. Pause, looking down at the floor. The back is nice and long and flat. And then press to the heels, squeeze the glutes, and come back up to standing. Take a look at the screen real quickly here. The reason we have our fingers here is we're trying to hinge at the hips and keep the spine out of this movement. So if my spine was in the movement, I would move in the spine, and as I moved in the spine, my thumbs would get closer to my pinkies, right? So that's the measuring sticks. Let's try that again. Keeping the spine out of the movement, tear the ground apart with your feet, keep tearing, send the hips back behind the heels as you hinge down. When you reach your end range, your gaze is at the floor. Now lengthen through the crown of the head like it's reaching to the front of the room. Reach your sit bones to the back of the room. Take an inhale here. Notice if your measuring stick stayed the same distance, push through the heels and rise back up to the top. So what's important about this is if you do any kind of movement where you squat, the tendency when we squat is to lead with the knees, right? So if you're doing any kind of squat in a workout, you want to try to avoid leading with the knees. You want to lead with your seat. And then notice when you do that, you can keep the knees stacked above the ankles pretty well. All right, so let's just do that 3 times. You can keep your measuring sticks if you want, or you can throw your arms out for a little counterbalance. Tear the ground apart, send your hips down. Let's come to a squat and press up. Squeeze your glutes, stand tall, crown of the head is long. Inhale. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, stand nice and tall. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale, tear the ground apart. Feel the stability in the hips as you tear the ground apart. Exhale, stand up nice and tall. Awesome sauce. Good work, guys. Let's go back to our active external rotation and let's shrug the shoulders. Getting the shoulders moving. Notice if your heart rate elevated a little bit from all the activation in that squat. So just by tearing the ground apart, we recruited more muscles. And let's get into our chasing shoulders. So right shoulder elevates and depresses. Left shoulder elevate and depress. So what we're doing, I want you to think about your scapula. So the scapula is moving up your back and down, up the back and down. So trying to chase your shoulders and move your scapula, finding that shoulder pack. We want to make sure that the scapula glides and moves on our rib cage because that movement of the scapula is what helps keep our shoulders safe in a wide range of motion. One more round here, and then release and let it go. We're going to do a new movement today. If you have shoulder injuries and you can't, no, your knees are not locked on any of these moves. Any of this movement we do, we don't want to lock the knees. Let me make a point. After you come up out of your squat, you can squeeze your glutes, lock for a second, but then release. But as we stand for a long period of time, somebody asked if the knees are locked. That's why I switched directions. As we're doing this, any of these drills, we want to have that soft bend in the knees and that external rotation in the hips. Now, if you can't bring your arms overhead because of an injury, I want you to stay right here, do arm circles in this direction, arm circles in this direction, okay? For those of you that feel comfortable bringing your arm overhead, here's what we're gonna do. Find your activation in your hips. Take your opposite hand, drive the sword down on the ground, creating tension, and then moving this arm, spread the fingers, thumb is forward. You're gonna bring your arm up into a position where you don't have to change your spine. So once you've reached your end range, don't come to your knees. I want you to rotate your palm towards the front of the room, and then keep rotating the palm towards the wall of the arm that you're moving, and then keep moving back. Once you get that rotation, you can move back. Now keep rotating the palm down to the ground. Keep rotating the palm so that now it's back towards the back of the room, and then keep rotating so the palm winds up, away, thumb is back to the side of the room that this arm is on. So let's try that again. Let's bring it back so the thumb is forward, the palm is to the hip. Opposite arm drives down for tension. Tear the ground apart or corkscrew, and then start to move. Now pretend like you're in a bubble and you're tracing the inside of the bubble. So you're reaching, reaching, reaching. Pause when you can't go any more in this direction, and then start to rotate. And then as you find your rotation, you can begin to move again, start to move again. But as you're moving and finishing your circle, keep rotating. See how my thumb is moving down, continuing to rotate until the back of my hand comes up. This is a little confusing to learn. We'll spend 2 weeks learning this one. Let's go one more time. Opposite arm is driving down. Don't want to deviate the spine when we meet our end range. Start your rotation when you need to start your rotation, and then circle back the other direction. If you can't lift your arm overhead, you're just doing these circles down here, changing directions. Let's take that on the other side. So if you've been doing circles in this direction, take them the other direction, or you can even do like an infinity, like a figure 8. All right, for the opposite side, drive your hand down, open up your palm, and then start to move. Pretend like you're scraping the inside of the bubble, so you're reaching, you're lengthening, finding as much length as you can in the arm. Pause when you can't go backwards anymore. Don't come to your knees here. And then start your rotation. Palm comes to the front of the room, and then it goes to the side of the room. When you feel like you can move in your rotation again, keep reaching and rotating, reaching and rotating. The thumb is rotating down. You want to keep twisting so the back of the hand is what winds up alongside the leg. Now the pinky is forward, the thumb is back. So we reset, and we'll move a little bit faster that time. So these big arm circles, really, really cleaning things out, challenging our range of motion. And then I want you to notice, we've been observing our spine. Notice if when you reach through your arms, all right, sorry, I'm reading the chat. This is a lot. This is new for me, reading the chat and teaching. Okay, if you can't bring your arms overhead, you're just working your circles down here, and then you can make your circles the opposite direction, or you can make the hand circles go in the, yeah, I can't think of the word, but in these kind of swinging opposite directions. Okay, left side, our opposite side for everyone here. We'll bring the palm up overhead. This is our last one. If you can reach overhead, and then rotate the hand and bring it back and around. I knew that one was going to be a little challenging to translate in a Zoom meeting, but hopefully you got something out of that one. One thing I want you to remember is we talk about our spine. So we gave that demonstration last week. Sometimes when we lack mobility in the shoulders, we grab from the spine. So when you reach your end range, I don't want you to change your spine in order to get any higher, okay? Paying attention to that. No, don't go down to one knee. I just do that so you can see my arm overhead. Sorry if I'm saying that too quickly. All of this work is standing. I'm just making sure you can see my hands at the top. Sorry for that confusion. Okay, let's come to standing. Soft bend of the knees, arms come out nice and wide, palms are down, corkscrew through the legs and make them active, and then just start to glide your chest. And then you're going to glide in the other direction. And if you can see yourself in your screen, what you're looking for is movement above the hips. So you want your rib cage to glide in opposite direction, but you want your hips to stay home and planted. Now let's come over to one side together. Pause. Don't move your arms, but I just want you to notice the length that you feel in your side body. Try to breathe into that rib cage. And then come back to center. Glide over in the other direction. Pause. Notice the length that you feel coming out of the hip. Notice if the weight changes in your feet. You should have your weight evenly in both feet. Now we're going to change. Come back up to the other side. And then you can bring your arm across if you have a shoulder issue, or you can reach up and over if you don't have a shoulder issue. And then we're going to come the other direction. Glide across. Hand can come here, or shoulder can reach up and over. Good. One more time. Up and over. So hopefully you're getting enough information on how to move the arms if you have a shoulder impairment. Just never bring the arm overhead. Just keep it even with the shoulder. Only for those with an impairment. All right, let's give the shoulders a break. Couple shrugs up into the ears and down. Let's move to the elbows to keep it out of the shoulders for a moment. You're going to bend your elbows, bring your thumbs to your ears, and then open up your wrists, and then open up at the elbows. Turn the thumbs down, bring them to the ears, rotate and open. So you're moving your elbow into full flexion here, or full extension here. And then as you bring the hands in, you can feel your bicep turn on. You're coming into full flexion, full extension, and full flexion. And then you can speed that up. So you're making these circles. So this mobility work that we do, it hydrates your joints and your tissues. So you're getting synovial fluid in your joints. If you want to go back and look up synovial fluid, and you're increasing your ground substance in your fascia. So you can look up ground substance. It's fascinating. Pause with me here. Take it the opposite direction, like you're going to do a bicep curl like Popeye. Now punch your hands through, turn your wrist down, open it up, and then bicep curl like Popeye, and then punch. Open it up, and then you can begin to move more quickly through that one. So this elbow hydration just gives us a chance to give the arms, the shoulders a break a little bit. And then let's move into our wrists. Let's pretend like we're holding onto a bar, and I want you to lift the wrists up above the bar and then down below the bar. Now squeeze the knuckles together a little bit more, lift the wrist up above, come into your full flexion, and then down, full extension. So challenge your end range here. You should feel quite a bit of sensation in the forearm as you do this work. One more time, full flexion, and one more time, full extension. Now come to neutral, take the bones of the wrist, draw them in toward one another, and then take them away. Bring the bones in and away. And I'm going to try to not move my elbows and my shoulders so much, just trying to isolate movement to my wrists, and then just start to find some circles in the wrist. So we're not going to do the four corners today. Just find organic movements, circles in your wrists, because I want you to feel empowered and just know that moving your wrists can help hydrate and bring fluid to those tissues. Let's come into A-OK. Boom, boom, boom. Stack the fingers. Now release. Finger, 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 finger. Rotate around like you're holding an ice cream cone. Squeeze the ice cream cone. Release the ice cream cone. Come back around. A-OK. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. Or I don't know. That means I have extra fingers because I didn't count the thumb. But you know what I'm saying. A-OKs and ice cream cones. Big rotations. And then we'll move back into our chest. Shake out your hands. Let's get some blood flow to the hands. You can kind of bounce a little bit. Take a big inhale. Exhale through the mouth. Let's go back up to our cervical spine. We're going to do a fun one today in the cervical spine. You know this one, shooting round, so let's do this. Bring the fingertips together, draw the chin down to the chest, point through the pointer fingers, and open up the back ribs to the back of the room. Take a breath in here. Now take the chest in the opposite direction. So separate the hands, spread the arms wide, lift the heart. Let your heart float up to the front of the room and the ceiling. Lift your gaze, bring your shoulder blades together. Take a breath there. And then bring the hands together, clasped, shoot and round, draw the chin to the chest. Feel the shoulder blades separate and glide across the rib cage. They're gliding laterally or away from each other. Now, notice if the shoulders are in the ears here. Pack the shoulders down the back. And then separate the hands, open up, lift the heart, lift the gaze. And then you should also be feeling a stretch maybe in your pecs as the arms open up. And then bring your hands to center. Place your hands on your hips. This is our fun new one that we're going to do today. Just isolating your rib cage. Take your rib cage and pop it over to the left. Come back to center. Pop it over to the right. Oh yeah, Debbie's got it. Pop it over to the left, back to center, over to the right. And then you can kind of go staccato like this, left center, or you can begin to glide, left with the rib cage, right with the rib cage. So notice my hips really aren't moving, and I'm trying not to move my shoulders too much, just trying to move in the rib cage. So that might feel some stretch for you. Now, let's take the rib cage forward and back. So now, without moving your lumbar spine, take the rib cage and pop it forward. Maybe your shoulder blades come together in the back. Now take your heart back and pop your chest or your rib cage back. Pop your chest or your rib cage forward. Pop your chest or your rib cage back. So notice in the lumbar spine, there's not a lot of sassy and cashew happening here. I'm just moving in the rib cage. Forward and back. So now, let's put those four pieces together. So let's come over to the side, come forward, over to the other side, and back. Side, forward, other side, and back. And then you know where we're going to go on this from our neck glides. Start to round that out. And you'll notice as you begin to round this out, you start to wake up and use and recruit and call on all of these deep core and postural muscles. Pause with me. Let's pop back to the back, go over to the opposite side and forward. So we're just changing direction, starting staccato first, particularly if this movement isn't super accessible for you. Keeping it staccato can help out. And for those of you that are finding the movement, you can begin to glide and take your circles in the other direction. Hopefully that opens up some space in your thoracic cavity, in your thoracic area, and then come to standing. Remember last week we talked about the tuck of our tail, so we're going to take our tail into a sassy and then tuck it into a cashew, sassy, and cashew. So this is our pelvis, and our pelvis wants to be able to tilt in these different directions. That's important. If you're going to go into a forward fold, you want to tilt your pelvis forward. If you're trying to hollow out the body, you might tilt your pelvis back. So you want to have and find this mobility in the pelvis. Good, and come to standing. Let's move into our hips and get into our hip roots. Now, the last couple of weeks, we've been just going straight to the side. So I'm softly bending the knees, sending my hips to the side, and you might hang out there and just feel what sensations you get, what little stretches you get in the hip. Come back up to center and send the hip over to the other side. Take a moment to just feel this stretch. So what you'll notice is my shoulders are sort of in line with my feet, and it's just my hips that are going out to the side. Let's come back up to center. Let's go over to the other side. Moving a little bit more quickly, back to center and over to the other side. Good. Now let's try something new. Let's come back to center. Let's take our hips back 45 degrees. So it's to the side and the back. So we're kind of getting that little hip hinge in that we practiced in class when we tore the ground apart. And you'll notice if you tear the ground apart a little bit, that'll help wake up the hamstring. You might get a little hamstring stretch here. Now you want to come forward and stand tall. So come forward, stand tall, squeeze the glutes. This is where the knees can lock out just for a second as the hips open up. So a big stretch in the front of the hips, and then send your hips back in the other direction. So 45 degrees to the back of the room as you hinge the body forward. And then squeeze and come to the top. Lengthen, lock out just for a tiny second, and then let's move a little bit quicker. So it's a hip hinge. Now, tearing the ground apart a little bit might create more sensation. Come forward, squeeze. So that's like the point of a triangle. Now we're going down to the base of the triangle as we hip hinge, back 45 degrees. Come up and squeeze. And one last time. And then just notice any additional activations you can get by tearing the ground apart. Squeeze at the front. Hinge. Come forward. Now, when we squeeze, we open up the hips and we lengthen through the spine, draw the chin in, drive the arms down, and then release. And let go. Place the hands right on the thighs here, and then let's just start to find some movement. So as you're doing these circles, it's like you have from the knee, you know those weights that they have in Zen gardens, and then they kind of circle around in the sand? Kind of imagine that stillness and that calmness as you find your circles. Bring your awareness inside and just feel all of the bottoms of the feet getting their sensation and massage. Let's pause and take our circles in the other direction. And then notice where your eye gaze is. Can you bring your eye gaze down to the ground just a little bit more to create more alignment in the cervical spine? Reaching long through the crown of the head, and then noticing if you're rounding in your back or if you can maintain that flat back that we talked about. And then pause, place your weight in your heels, and drive through your heels to come to standing. So when you push into the heels, you're going to use those glutes to help you come up to standing. Let's grab balance. If you need help to hold on to something for balance, you can use a wall or a chair. Or if you prefer not to use anything, just come to standing on a single leg. And then notice the leg that you're balancing on. Notice if you're locking that knee out. A lot of times we lock out to achieve balance. So find that soft bend, maybe even that corkscrew action. As you bring the opposite heel up, let's just start to find internal and external rotation on the hip. And you can keep your toe right down on the ground. The other thing you can do is take one or both hands and put them on your torso to make sure that the movement is truly coming from the hip joint, and you're not just getting rotation in the trunk, but you're actually isolating it to the hip joint. And then if you'd like, you can do this work with your foot off the ground right in front, sweeping back and forth. Couple of options on how we do this footwork. Now that standing leg is probably getting a little tired, so let's give it a break. Put your foot down, take a few steps into the ground like you're making biscuits, spreading your toes, and then place your weight on the other side. Soft bend in the knee, grow long in the spine, heel is lifted, and then start to find your isolating movements. First, you can keep your toes on the ground, or you can always keep your toes on the ground. Or if you wish to challenge your balance a little bit more, you can bring your leg up in front and start to scoop. Internal and external rotation. Notice the desire to rotate more and get the trunk in the rotation. We don't want that to happen. So just work in your range where you can keep your trunk, your core, front of your body, forward. Good work. All right, let's step down, work through that. We're going to do another hip one, but this time we're going to move forward and back. So I'm going to show from this orientation. So I'm going to go back and put the weight in my first leg that I started on. Then I'm going to bring my other leg forward. I'm going to turn into internal rotation. And then I'm going to push it back. Take it to external rotation. Maybe bring my knee up and around. Turn it into internal rotation. Sweep it back. Move into external rotation. Lift the knee and come up and around. Now you cannot touch the ground at all when you do that, or you can drag your toes and touch at any point. So notice what your trunk is doing. Try not to hinge forward when you're doing this work. And then pause, bring your leg back behind you, come through and forward in internal rotation, open up and send it back. Come into internal rotation, come through, open up and send it back. Coming through internal rotation, open it up and send it back. Woo, how's that leg? Let's get off of that leg, switch it over to the other side, shifting your weight, soft bend in the knees, turning into internal rotation, switch it back, go to external rotation, open up the knee and come forward, land in internal rotation. Take it back, open it up, lift the knee, come into internal rotation in the front, and back, open up the knee, and come forward. Come to the back position in internal rotation and just simply change the direction. Come through and forward, open up, come back. Turn to internal rotation in the back, through, up and forward, open, back to internal rotation in the back, through, up and forward. So we've added on complexity from the last 2 weeks, and hopefully that's translating well with you. If it's not translating well, we'll get another opportunity to visit it next week. Okay, let's work on our ankles real quickly. So we've had a lot of balance work today. We're going to continue to challenge that balance. Always feel free to hold on for a little bit of help. Let's go right back into that original balance leg. Lift the knee off the ground or lift the foot off the ground. And you're just going to point and flex. Plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. So just working the ankle here, down and up. And down and up. Now go in and out. In and out. Good. And then try to connect all that together. So go down, in, up, out. Down, in, up, out. Trying to really find your edge and the full range of your ankle mobility. Pause. Now go down, out, up, and in. Down, out, up, and in. Down, out, and up, and in. Ooh. Shift weight. Make sure you're breathing when you're doing this work. I can't remind you that enough. Maybe, Diane, every 5 minutes you can type in capital letters, breathe, breathe. We'll always want to make sure we're breathing when we do this work. It's common to hold our breath when we're balancing, because when we hold our breath, we're finding that stability as we pressurize with our breath. So we want to train our brain to move while we balance. Let's shift weight, put the other foot down, and then just begin by finding plantar and dorsiflexion, so ankle range mobility. I am a former soccer player with loads and loads of ankle injuries. So I don't have great ankle mobility. So this work is great for me. And what can happen if you have lack of mobility in one joint? Your body is going to seek out that mobility. So the mobility is just going to travel somewhere else. Let's go in and out. And that's where we develop our dysfunctional movement patterns. If we have injury to a joint, or a particular injury, the body just looks to get the movement from somewhere else. Let's put that together. Down, in, up and out. Down, in, up and out. We can move a little bit faster on this side. Hey guys, are you locked out on that standing leg? Try to soften it up and not lock it out. I just did it. Everybody does it. Let's go down. Let's go down and out, up and in. Down and out, up and in. down and out, up and in, down and out, up and in. Put that leg down. So maybe you're beginning to feel how even doing this work can challenge us just because we're balancing so much in this work. So much tissue is recruited into balance. One more rotational exercise for the trunk, one more balance exercise. Let's take one leg and step it back so that the feet are in railroad tracks or in train tracks. And you can put the heel down if you want to. So when the heel is down, it might be rotated in a little bit. Bring your arms out in front. Look at your thumbs. Try to bring your shoulders over your hips and find a little bit of corkscrew in the hips right now. So try to find that torque by finding that external rotation. Now the same leg that's back, I want you to take that hand and trace the fingers of that hand along the extended arm. As you trace the fingers, start to rotate the rib cage in the direction of the leg that's back. I'm moving really slowly and mindfully because I want to make sure my rib cage rotates. Then I have this big juicy rotation, and then drop your back arm that was mobile and rotate your rib cage right back to the front of the room. So if you're moving through your right hand, you want your rib cage to open up to the right wall. If you're moving your left hand, open up to the left wall. Let's try that again. 2 more times this side of the body. Peel the fingers, but what you really want to do is move the rib cage. Take your eye gaze, follow the eye gaze along the wall, and as your hand reaches back, continue to take the eye gaze and try to look back to the back of the room. Big balance challenge there. Drop the back arm, bring it back around to meet the front arm. This time I want you to look at your fingers. Follow your fingers of the hand that's moving. Bringing your fingers across from your face, and then reaching your arms back behind, some different ways to challenge the balance. And then we'll meet up on the front side. Bringing your back leg to meet your front, take your opposite leg back. Let's find this on the other side. Get yourself set up. Find corkscrew in the hips, engage through the core, shoulders are over the arms. And then the first one, let's just peel and find your rotation on this side. Think about the rib cage moving on the axis of the spine, opening up your heart, your chest to the side of the room. Drop your back arm, bring it down to meet your front arm. Let's go again. This time, as you peel open, the eye gaze traces along the outside wall until your eye gaze looks at the back of the room. One more time. Coming back up to front this time, you can look at your fingers. Now, if you lose your balance doing this, you can take your eye gaze wherever you want. Just by challenging and looking at these different points, it can be a challenge on your balance. Let's just pause here. Spread your arms, open up as if you're going to give somebody a big hug. And then sweep your bottom arm back around to meet your front. Step your back leg back and forward. One more thing. Bring your arms out to the sides here. Come across your body. Grab under your shoulders. Squeeze yourself really hard. That's a hug from me to you. Thank you for coming to class today, you guys. It was a pleasure and an honor to share this practice with you. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you next week.